Hit record. All right. In 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sorry I Like This podcast. I'm your host, Ezra, and today I'm joined by Caleb. Caleb, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I am doing great. I feel accomplished in many different aspects,
Yes.
and I cannot wait to talk about it all in
Yeah,
this
no.
podcast because this podcast is packed.
We've got
Um,
a lot to talk about. And
you,
so we've got all sorts of news. We got GTA 6, we got the
mhm.
Bungie situation, just got a new Steam Deck announced, all of that. Caleb and I have both platinum Spider-Man 2.
That's right. And it's only been 2 weeks since our last recording, so that
So,
shows you how much we were into this game.
yeah,
But we'll
no.
talk about that
Yeah,
later.
we will talk about that. We'll go into spoilers on that. I have a new segment that's going to go absolutely
That's
insane,
right. It
and
is going to go crazy. Yeah.
and then we have something of an announcement at the end of the show. So stick around. But with that, yeah, I mean, let's just jump into it. The
Yeah.
Steam Deck OLED. We got the announcement literally like 3 hours ago. I'm reading courtesy of Gamatsu. I mean, it is a new console, so that's kind of
It
why we're
looks pretty
talking.
nice.
Yeah, it looks really nice. It's got it has some upgrades beyond the screen, so it has a really nice OLED screen, which is that's the most for a lot of people. That's going to be the most important thing, I think.
Hmm.
I mean, the second most important thing by a long shot is the battery life, and they have improved the battery life, at least based on what Steam is saying or what Valve is saying. The Steam Deck OLED has 30 to 50% more battery life, which is really solid.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that's one of the things that really prevents the Steam Deck from being a totally portable thing is the fact that the battery life doesn't exactly support like long road trips or something like that, or flights. Just because if you're trying to play a game that requires a little bit of power, it's gonna drain that battery pretty fast. After that, they added Wi-Fi 6E to the Steam Deck OLED, so people with that capability will be able to download faster. For I would say most of the U.S. isn't going to benefit from that a whole lot. There are places like in Europe and Canada where they might,
Mhm.
but it's still a good thing to have. And then it apparently weighs 5% less than the original Steam Deck, and it has a better cooling system. So not much to it. I would say uh, it's not a big refresh the way that sometimes the PS4 Slim or something like that will come out, or you have the all of the PS3, however million PS3 iterations there were. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you have any more thoughts on that, Caleb?
You know, I well, I'll make the joke first, but I just can't
Yeah,
wait until the Game Awards for Christopher Judge to go on and
yeah.
talk for 10 minutes and give us all some free Steam Deck OLEDs.
He
I
wasn't
think we
even in a
definitely need that
game
for
this year,
Christmas this year.
and he's still gonna do it.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I mean, he could talk as long as he likes. He definitely
Yeah,
deserved that award.
yeah. Actually, speaking of the Game Awards, not to sidetrack
Mhm.
us too much, but we do have the reveal of the nominations next week.
That is correct. Yep.
So
And I'm looking forward to diving into that.
yeah,
And it.
we'll see
We'll
how
talk about that,
yeah
but
we'll see how well our
I'm sure some
predictions.
hot takes are going to happen. So
Yeah. um but yeah, I mean that's kind of the Steam Deck story. I guess moving on, Caleb, something pretty big just happened last night, kind of the end of a saga, so to speak. Um,
yeah.
do you wanna kind of go into what that means and what's going on?
Okay. So yesterday, finally, the Actors Union, SAG-AFTRA, um, were able to meet with the AMPTP to finalize on a new 3-year contract, and they've been on strike for over. I think it was 118 days,
Jeez.
and which is insane. It is the longest actor strike in history. Um, and if you want to talk about, and I'll get to the reason why this still affects the video game industry very soon. But I'm just giving a little bit of a timeline here.
Yeah.
Um, the the sorry, I'm calculating this. Yeah, the writers were previously on strike before the actors. The writers were on strike May 1st,
Hmm.
and has affected the movie industry, the television industry ever since then. It has been pretty much in the shutdown state since then, and the actor strike put the final nail in the coffin,
Yeah.
and nothing's been in production. But to put that into perspective, May 1st was 192 days ago,
Yeah.
which it blows my mind that it took this long to get both unions a fair deal.
Well, I think part
Um,
of part of the lesson here is
mhm.
that humans aren't going away just because AI popped up.
And
Um,
this is the thing, and that's the thing. It's like this whole reason why this lasted so long. Now, there's been strikes that have lasted this long before, but the whole reason why this lasted so long was the focus on AI. I mean, there was stuff about residuals and stuff, but
yeah.
the main focus was AI, and in the AMPTP's um, resilience to I don't even know if resilience is the right word, but the stubbornness of not wanting to cave. They want to open sandbox on it. And the and it goes to show you, I'm trying to avoid going too much into it, but more of like, it just AI can be scary, and the
Yeah.
thing is, we have seen time and time again AI being used for many many wrong reasons,
Yep.
and everybody deserves to be protected in that. And this is why this is big in the video game industry, because it is the easiest to do it in the video game industry, um, because it's not in a live action form,
Yeah.
um, and you know SAG and the video game industry has been, to my knowledge, still an impasse with each other. So they still have not come to a deal on their next contract. They have postponed most of their talks. I mean, they're still talking, but like they have postponed their contract deadline until they could talk it out. And I think partially the reason why that contract hasn't been finished up yet is because of the focus on AI. And
Yeah.
also, not only that, I think SAG wanting to get the film and TV industry back up. So this is pure speculation now. I think we're going to be hearing in the next few weeks, maybe month, from now, about where SAG is going with the video game industry and if there is a looming strike. Um,
Yeah.
and it's going to affect it's already affecting the video game industry. Like now, with the good thing about the strikes being over is that the television and film industry is going to get a big boom of
Theoretically, at
available
least.
roles,
Yeah.
theoretically, post holidays. And I am speaking theoretical. I do think that it will affect a little bit on time commitments. I think we'll start hearing more about, oh, how so and so couldn't return for this because of that. Um, and I think that'll stem over into the video game industry. I think we'll see um, less of that, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It's great for many different actors to have different roles, and you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying. But I do think it's going to affect a lot of how the industry is going to um, be with video games very soon. Um, I think we'll see. Like we won't see it much. The interesting part about the video game industry, it's all worldwide, right?
Yeah.
So we're
Oh, yeah.
talking about like video games that are developed and primarily um, primarily created in uh, America. So essentially,
Yeah.
SAG-AFTRA's footprint. You know what I'm saying? This is more the main concern. So it would be more games like that would have more of an impact, like Spider-Man 2, or
Hmm.
you know what I mean, like anything from Disney, anything from Warner Brothers
Yeah. WB
too.
is probably one of the few studios or one of the few publishers that I would say stands to lose a lot
Yeah,
from, like,
because
because
they are.
they other games, other
Mhm.
studios, they have other franchises that don't have that same like licensed brand. And making a Harry Potter game
Mhm.
without using recognizable faces would honestly be a little weird. Like I don't know how
Well,
recognizable
not
the
only
old
that,
Hogwarts Legacy
like
characters are, but
I don't know either, but the not like Hogwarts Legacy was a success,
yeah,
but it's like the only success of WB games in a long time.
yeah,
So I would say like they really can't afford any kind of roadblocks like this right now. Like Suicide
yeah.
Squad was supposed to come out this year,
And
and
then
I
and then
believe it's still
everybody
delayed in.
saw it.
Yeah, I believe it's still delayed indefinitely. Like,
Yeah, I
Gotham
think
Knights
we
wasn't
we
that
really
good.
don't know. We don't have a whole lot.
Well, I haven't played Gotham Knights, but I'm just saying as a reception and as
Yeah,
a quality control, WB needs to do some damage control, and they did get it with Hogwarts a little bit, but that's one step to a very long pathway. And these are just two large studios, but there's so many other studios based in America that like it will affect them. And
yeah,
I we'll see what happens, and I could be just like overreacting a little bit. Maybe they get to a deal soon, but my gut tells me, and what this past year has taught me with everything in this industry, that it might be it might be the focus for a while.
yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
And I think, because all yeah, it could dramatically change everything. It could change
Hmm.
even how the Game Awards even go. You know what
Oh,
I'm saying?
absolutely, yeah.
So we'll see. Again, I might be pushing the panic button. I don't know,
Yeah, I mean,
but
there's
on the same time, I'm glad that we're finally at this state where it's just about the video game industry.
oh, yeah, for sure, yeah. I mean, for me, it's very much like part of the issue. You said it. I think you made a really good point when you were talking about the games industry being really worldwide, and
Hmm.
I mean, it's not like movies and TV don't have film industry crossover to different
Hmm.
countries like that. That absolutely happens. But I think like video games have their origins in collaboration between people across
Hmm.
locales, right? I mean, Sonic the Hedgehog is actually a really good example of a franchise that has Japanese creators and creatives behind it, but brings in a lot of American talent to
Hmm.
do not just voicing, but like music uh, and writing and like all sorts of stuff. So we're and that extends to a really large portion of the games industry. I mean, a lot of Japanese games have some semblance of American influence in some way, shape, or form, like crossover in some way. So you know, it's kind of hard to say like, oh, how is a SAG strike going to affect the games industry because laws are going to be different across countries
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So could Tyler Hoechlin have to step back from Sephiroth because of a potential strike is an interesting question because you're talking about like all sorts of
Right.
different um,
Well,
like
even
a
even
confluence of different interests that have to kind of work together to decide that kind of thing.
even the video game industry, I mean, not video game industry, film industry, they there was exceptions made.
Yeah.
Like, I guess the biggest example is House of the Dragon. Like, um, because it's filmed in Europe, it's primarily Europe. Like, SAG gave exceptions to actors that were doing work on that show because they were
Yeah.
able to use the European contracts
Yeah.
for it, and
Well, Europe has better worker protections than SAG could ever hope to anyway. So
right. So the point being is like that's where things will get tricky. So like if like you said, say for example Final Fantasy VII, although Final Fantasy VII is probably well done by this point
oh yeah.
in terms of
At
voice
least
acting,
at least Rebirth is certainly
right?
done. Yeah.
Um, you know, the I could see a case of an exemption to be made, but then again, they're recording in America, which is a little bit of the gray area. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
The question is, we're not experts
Yeah.
on this part
Yeah,
at
we don't
all.
we don't we don't know exactly what we're talking about. We have an idea, but not
Right.
all of the answers.
But, it could happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna yeah, I was gonna lead into our next story. I think probably in response almost to the SAG strike ending,
Hmm.
we got the announcement that Miyamoto is working with Sony Pictures to create a Zelda live action movie.
Hmm.
And who else was named but Avi Arad in the I hope that's how you pronounce his name. I mean, Miyamoto is
Yeah.
working directly with this guy, and this guy
There's nothing more.
has
There's nothing more scarier.
this is the same guy who thought Morbius was a good idea.
I mean, this is the same guy that thought a lot of things about the
Yeah.
Spider-Man films were good
Yeah, I mean,
ideas.
there is, I mean, the
He
prevailing
only had one.
sentiment around Avia Rod is
Hmm.
that every good Spider-Man movie is a result of him being hands off.
Yeah, I you know yeah.
like, like the less he interferes, the better the movie is going to be.
Now,
And
granted, he did have a pretty big part to play in getting him and oh god, what is her name? I can't believe I forgot. Amy Pascal.
Amy
Okay,
Pascal, yeah.
those two had a very big part to play in getting Toby and Andrew back. So I will give them credit.
Yeah, I'll give him the point for No Way Home because No Way Home
Yeah,
rocks. But
I agree.
otherwise,
But track record.
yeah, their track record. I mean, Amy Pascal, I have complicated feelings about because I feel like she has made a lot of not necessarily great decisions, but also seems to have a good
I think
understanding of Spider-Man at
right.
least.
I think
Avia Rod,
yeah.
like this guy is like the reason Spider-Man 3 is the way that it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think Amy Pascal has really grown on me in the past couple of years.
yeah,
With I think what's working is she's had some great ideas and then she's had some okay ideas. So
yeah.
I
Well, and
think
yeah,
Amy Pascal was a big reason why the Spider Verse movies were made, weren't they? If I'm not
yeah.
mistaken.
I mean, she should get some credit for that. And I mean, Avia
Yeah.
Rod is credited as being a part of uh, the Spider Verse movies too. But again, it's very much like, oh, he wasn't paying it to the animation team, so they were able to pop off because he kind of just let them do what they wanted. So it's not exactly the most promising collaboration. Now, all of that said, Avia aside, I trust Miyamoto.
Yes.
Like
Me
Miyamoto,
too.
he is I mean, the Mario movie being watchable is because Miyamoto worked on that movie. If
Mm.
Miyamoto wasn't in the room helping to develop the Mario movie, that movie would be absolute garbage.
Mm.
So, you know, again, I trust Miyamoto. I think let him do what he's gonna do. I really hope that they get some of the Zelda story writers involved and
Mm.
kind of make sure that it's true. I mean, I texted you, Caleb, like they
Mm.
better not, Link better not talk, right?
I think I think if they and here's the thing, I agree with you. Like Link shouldn't talk, but if he were,
Everybody else can talk. I'm fine with that. Just
yeah,
not Link. Just not Link.
if he were, I think I would rather him. I guess the best example is Henry Cavill's Witcher.
Sure.
Like, yeah, he does talk, but there's a lot of,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
you know
mean,
what I
like,
mean.
I mean,
But
Link
he
can
doesn't have to be like,
grunt. He's allowed to make
yeah,
noises, but
yeah. That's what I'm
he's
saying.
not allowed to have spoken dialogue. Yeah.
Right. I think I think he can have like minimal dialogue at
Yeah.
most.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what
I
I'm
mean, yeah.
saying?
Yeah. I think like if they went the route that like he only says a few words at a time, but they're all
Mm.
comedy gold. Like if they went like in the direction of like a Groot or something like that with
Mm.
Link, I think
Right.
that would be like a good way for them to handle it. I
See,
mean,
this is the tricky parts with the Zelda movie, but
yeah, I mean, we don't know anything. This movie is probably like 5 years down the road. Like
yeah.
we're not gonna see this for a while. Um,
And
I
here's the thing. Oh, go ahead.
Wes Ball, he's made some good, some bad stuff.
Well, he's going to. Isn't he? He's the one that's directing Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And did you see that trailer?
yeah, I mean, Kingdom looks really good.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of thoughts about it. Um,
That's the thing. I did. I actually really like those movies.
oh yeah, I
The
love the
newer
Planet of
ones.
the Apes trilogy. Yeah,
But I would. I'm more excited to do a rewatch of those films and then go into that one. But
yeah.
um, I guess my point is that I guess my my fear of it is less about the talking than it is about, was this best for live action or was this best for animated?
So
And I think to an extent this is the best option. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Well, so there are in a lot of ways there are two Zeldas, right? There's
Mhm.
the like the Wind Waker, Link to the
Mhm.
Past, like or like still like maybe a bit of an undercurrent of darker themes, but mostly like
Mhm.
cartoony and bright and happy and adventurous. And then you have the other side, which is like, your Twilight Princess, your Ocarina of Time,
Exactly.
your Majora's Mask, like the dark, creepy, pretty
Which is
overall serious story.
which
And
is absolutely the way you need to go with live action.
yeah,
Like
and
that's the way you need to go.
that's what I was going to say. Like I think, I mean, they could make a dark animated Zelda movie. Like that's possible, but
Mhm.
I think like, especially it being a Sony movie, it doesn't exactly inspire me like, oh, they're gonna like go in a lot of creative directions with this. Like no, I'm expecting a much more sort of by the books kind of thing. And so if you're gonna, I do hope I do hope that it has style, I think,
Mhm.
because the biggest the biggest fear
Mhm.
is that they aren't able to capture what makes Zelda Zelda.
Right.
And if that happens, then what was even the point? And Zelda means a lot of things to a lot of people. And I don't think any of the games have the greatest narratives ever told.
Mhm.
Their strengths lie in other realms, even though I like plenty of the narratives. So there's a lot. I mean, for me, I think, as somebody who's read the Zelda manga on and off a bunch, I mean, if there were one person I would tap to say like, "Hey, get them on this project and let them do what they want to do," it would be the writer for the manga, just because they have a pretty clear understanding of what makes
Mhm.
Zelda Zelda and are able to kind of parse out what's important and what's not. And some of the additions that they've made are also really good. So, there's I'm not gonna be a massive doomer about the Zelda movie until I see it because,
Mhm.
again, I trust Miyamoto. Miyamoto knows who to talk to about Zelda, if nothing else. Like I mean, he was the creator of Zelda, so, and he's one of the people responsible for Ocarina of Time. Like he he knows what he's doing.
Mhm.
And I think
And
like assuming that Miyamoto working with somebody is going to somebody like Avi Arad is going to immediately doom the project is a bit of a fool's errand. My
Mhm.
hope is that because Nintendo is funding more than Sony, that they are able to exercise some control and say, oh, maybe you do have a point about this thing, but we're going to go in this direction because we believe so strongly in that. So we'll see. Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts about the
I
Zelda
have one more
movie?
thought.
Okay.
I have one more thought. The biggest disappointment of it not being animated is that it hurts the chances of a Smash Bros. Movie. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, how do you even make a
Hurts.
Smash Bros. Movie?
Right,
Is kind of my
exactly. I mean,
question. Honestly, like, I'm very much kind of two minds about Zelda being live action, but I'm thinking like I think like Metroid is like I don't think you can make an animated Metroid
right.
movie. I think you
Well, I
have to
think at the
make
same
that
time,
live
it could still
action.
work.
Yeah, because I mean,
It's
yeah,
crazy.
there's. I mean, we talk about the difference between animated and live action. It's not that stark. It's more of a visual
Right.
style kind of thing than it
And
is a necessity.
and here's the thing, like I still think it's inevitable that it might happen. Say 15 years from now, they announce the Smash Bros. Movie. I think it's
Yeah,
highly possible. What they'll do. The problem is that now, now we're going to different studios. That's the issue. It's like if
yeah,
it was all under one roof, I
oh
would
yeah,
say that this is going to be a huge possibility, and that they would do it animated. But I think it would be highly likely that these characters would be in their respective styles that they were given in their own movies. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
Not
And with their own
entirely
voice
dissimilar
actors.
to the way Spider-Verse handles it.
Exactly, exactly. So I mean that's just pure speculation and just me just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
But that's my final thoughts on it. I'm like really excited for to see where this goes.
yeah.
I'm excited to hear the casting. I think that's the
Yeah,
most I'm
I'm
excited
really
for.
interested to see who they cast for Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf. Just because there are so many ways you could go. Uh, I'm I think the best chance for this movie is for it to be a direct adaptation of Ocarina of Time.
I agree with
Um,
that.
like it's not the best Zelda story. I think that goes to Twilight Princess, but I think having the time skip of uh, you know child Link to adult Link,
Mm-hmm.
you have a massive tone shift when that happens. You have
Yep.
you have Zelda, who you kind of form an attachment to at the beginning of the game, and then you don't see her until the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Ganondorf, I mean, what an iconic villain. I would say he's probably like third on my list of gaming's most iconic villains because
Mm-hmm.
to me it goes Sephiroth, Bowser, Ganondorf, and then from there. And people are going to disagree with that, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think and there are so many other little characters that they could have, and you know, I I think one of the things about the Mario movie is that it felt a little bit like it was throwing everything at the wall, and they held back on some very specific things. Like they didn't have a main Yoshi and they didn't have Rosalina. Beyond
Mm-hmm.
that, that's kind of everything else was kind of in the Mario movie. Again, save for like some smaller characters that were, I guess Bowser Jr. wasn't in the Mario movie. I worry that they would try to throw everything at the wall again with the Zelda movie, and that doesn't work for a Zelda movie. Like you can't have Beetle and the Happy Mask Salesman and
Mm-hmm.
Ganondorf and Vati. Like that doesn't work. Like there are so many different characters across the different games. You can't try to like cram every single concept into the one. Um, so yeah, that's that. We'll see where it goes. Not going to be a doomer about it right off the bat, but Miyamoto has made an odd choice with of a collaborator. Let's just say. Um, so moving on, I mean, so there were some pretty massive layoffs at Bungie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, if you don't know, Bungie is, they're the creators of Halo. They've been doing Destiny for almost 10 years now. And yeah, I mean, it was kind of a mess. There were like, reports are saying that like some of like entire departments were devastated by this. They lost one of their composers, and if you don't know anything, it's Michael Salvatore is responsible for some of the biggest and best Destiny music, and Destiny has always
Mm-hmm.
had pretty solid music. So for him to get sacked, like he's been at the company for so
Yeah, it's so
long,
surprising.
like that's
And then
the
and
yeah,
and then the CEO, is it the CEO now?
Pete
I don't even know.
Parsons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
him going out and saying like, "Oh, I only cut the non-essential ones."
Yeah, we kept the right people is what he said. And
yeah, the right people.
that's an absolutely insane thing to say. Um
That's what that's things not to say after a layoff 101,
yeah, yeah. We
textbook
kept the right
dictionary.
people. Yeah. Um yeah, I mean this is important to put into context. This has definitely been a year of layoffs in the games
Right.
industry.
Bungie's not the only one.
Yeah. I think what I heard, I mean, a lot of people have talked about this, and what I've heard, and I think it's right, Skillup was saying that part of the reason this particularly hits so hard is because Bungie has this, at least sort of purports to have this personal relationship with the community. And
Hmm.
so
That's a good point.
for them to do this kind of reveals in a way like, oh, this isn't, we're not actually all that serious about this. And yeah, I think there's there's a lot that can be said about layoffs, and we don't have to really go into that. They usually suck. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of just a lesson. Like, don't put too much stock into PR and what people say as a method of trying to get you to be interested in their product. Um, Destiny has. I mean, I think a part of why this kind of stung a little bit as well was Destiny itself is not in the best of places. It's not. I wouldn't say it's in a bad place. It's just not in an amazing place. Um, I think, my dad, Destiny has been the only game he really plays for
Yeah.
quite a while.
Well, that was like how it was with my dad too.
Yeah, and
Like, and he's back on Call of Duty now, but like that was, I'd say, for about at least 5 years.
well, and I
That
was
was his main game.
yeah, well, and I was talking to my dad, and I was like, hey, yeah, so how are you feeling about Destiny right now? And he was like, "Yeah, I'm really feeling kind of disinterested." And I was like, "Well, I got some recommendations. We got to get you on Spider-Man right quick."
Me with my dad too.
Yeah. And
Here's
he's
this
I think he's
backlog that I
been
created for you.
and I think he's been playing. I haven't asked him about Spider-Man
Mm-hmm.
in a couple days, but I think he's been playing, and so yeah, and that's a shame because Destiny was such a like safe place, I think, for him. So to see that kind of gone is a bit of a shame. We'll see. I'm not too keen on Destiny right now. I've been following it since it first came out, and I'll probably play the next expansion, but that got delayed. Not officially, but
Mm-hmm.
all of the reports are suggesting that the next expansion got delayed into June. So we'll see what comes of that. But yeah, that's it sucks, but kind of I hope for the best for all of the talent that was laid off. Um, One of the best things that could possibly come out of this is a new indie studio that makes something awesome. I don't know what that would necessarily be, but uh, you know, talent, talent is talent, and they are, Bungie developers are some of the most talented people working in the industry. So yeah, what next? Um, yeah, I mean, Caleb, I think this next one's you. You're definitely a bigger fan of this franchise than I am. So
I mean, yeah, I'd say talk about games that have been around for a very long time, and have I think Epic went through its own layoffs too. But like you know, this is more on a lighter note. But like you know, I'd say I haven't played this game in probably 9 months. Like I do not play this game as much anymore, but I used to play it all the time, and so
yeah,
as several other people. Um, and that's Fortnite.
yeah,
And Fortnite, let's just put it this way: Fortnite, I have no bad feelings whatsoever with Fortnite. I just kind of fell off,
yeah,
of the past couple of years. It's just more of been like when I get on a Fortnite kick, I get on a Fortnite kick. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
like I'm playing that for a while, and then I'll let it go for a while. Um, I think I might be back on a Fortnite kick because even though I haven't played it yet, without a doubt, the one thing that would rope me back in instantly, they did, and they've brought back the original map from all the way back. I think Fortnite launched its battle royale in 2016,
Yeah.
but and it was around all the way until 2018.
Hmm.
Um,
It's a crazy move.
Yeah, and it is wild because I never thought we would go back at this point. Well, I should say never thought. I always joked around on the what if, but as the
Yeah.
years went on, I more felt like, oh, if they're going to do anything, it's going to be a hybrid. It's not going to be the exact same map. No, what they did was they brought it all back to the
Yeah.
state it was in 2018. Like same locations, same everything, and I wanted to try it last night. I couldn't get around to it, but I'll tell you this much: I cannot wait to go on a nostalgia trip.
Nice.
And that's crazy to say, but it's been 5 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
5 years, and honestly, the original map is still the best map. And I don't mean that in a slight too much to the other ones. I think all of the other ones have had their greatest strengths and weaknesses,
Hmm.
but there's been no other feeling like the original map was. And I
Yeah.
cannot tell you how much I am excited to dive into it.
Yep.
I think it's a long time coming, and I know this is going to bring in a lot of people, and I think this is huge. I think it's good for people that, may have played the game after even the
Yeah.
original map
Oh
happened,
yeah.
and this is the first time they can actually feel what it was like. Because unlike you pulling up Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 from 2009, you could pull that up. You know what I'm saying? You could
Yeah.
do that at any time. This is a live service game, so basically,
Yeah. If
you're
it's not
SOL.
available, yeah, you can't
And
access it.
I think this is going to be so big. I know it is a limited time thing, but I think this is going to be so big that I guarantee you this is not going to be the last time we get the OG map again.
Oh yeah. Oh
I
for
th-
sure.
I think I think this is going to start a tradition, and I don't know if it's going to be like every November, but I think
How
periodically we're going to go back to the original map.
how long is the map back for? Out of
I
curiosity.
think it's back for a month,
Okay.
which isn't very long to think about.
No,
But
yeah, no. That I mean, a lot of live service games, like if they're having an anniversary celebration, that celebration will be a month long. So
absolutely.
it sounds to me like kind of a no-brainer, honestly. Like, oh, maybe for the second anniversary, we bring back, the second map, or whatever it is, or
Or yeah, or you go
we
a whole year of like all the original, like all of the previous maps.
yeah.
You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
that's also certainly possible.
Which would be fun.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like at least an interesting way to kind of keep things happening. Yeah, I mean, I have to be honest. I played Fortnite. I bought the Dragon Ball, the like first Dragon Ball stuff. And I played a lot of Fortnite when the Dragon Ball collaboration was happening, and then I kind of dipped out.
Honestly, I think that was when I started dipping out too. Um,
Yeah.
and that's no slight against it. There was no reason why I drifted away from it, but that was,
I mean,
something that I just like. I like the Dragon Ball collab, but I think I
yeah,
get more interested in the collabs anymore
yeah, that's
than
fair.
I do in the actual game.
Yeah, no, I mean the
And
Dragon Ball collab was so good, right?
it
Like
was good.
I mean all of the like big collaborations that they do where they like have elements from the franchise and they do
Right.
all sorts of stuff. It's like, "Oh, that's really
Well,
cool."
it's crazy to me that the only reason why the beginning of the Rise of Skywalker makes sense is if you
Mhm.
played Fortnite. Like, it's crazy to me to
Man.
think about that. Like, there were so many crazy collaborations.
Yeah.
I think the Marvel collab was the best collab they did.
Yeah.
Um,
Playable
because
Thanos like
yeah, well, not only that, but like they made a whole season devoted to a collaboration, and
yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't done it again. I'll be honest with you. With other, like, they could have done that with like full on like Dragon Ball. Like they could have, I mean, there's plenty of
Yeah, I mean that to me that
franchises they could have.
screams Toei wanted to get in and get out more
Right.
than
Well, absolutely.
yeah, like
But
like Toei probably wasn't sure they should do the Dragon Ball collaboration when it first happened,
right.
and then they saw the numbers and they were like, "Oh."
All I'm saying is about Fortnite is that the possibilities of collabs are endless.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, we
And
have what
and they've
Halo,
proven time and time again, no chip, no card is off the table.
which is absolutely insane. I mean,
Yeah,
Fortnite is the only game where Goku can use Kamehameha on Darth Vader.
yeah.
And and like, oh, fan games and stuff, like no, this was officially licensed by all parties involved.
And I'm telling you,
That's nuts.
I'm telling you, I'll, you know, Square's going to one day
One day,
we're gonna get some crazy collabs from Square. It's
hopefully.
once one character comes in, the floodgates are open.
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you that right now.
I mean, Sephiroth
Like,
is the best candidate.
well, there are so many best candidates. I can't even tell you. Like,
I
what?
say Sephiroth just because he's, I would say more than Cloud, he's the most recognizable Final Fantasy character.
I tell you what, that would be a wild collab.
Insane.
Like, if they work it into if they work it into the story, they could easily do that, just like they did
They
with
could,
Smash.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Like I'm not even joking. Like they could almost like steal that trailer shot for shot.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Oh
And
yeah.
it
No,
would make sense
absolutely.
within the lore.
Yeah.
But basically, nonetheless, I'm very excited to see Fortnite back to its roots. It's going to
Yeah.
be a fun little nostalgia trip, and it's definitely what I'm going to be doing after this podcast. And I'm not even
Nice.
joking. I have it pulled up, and well, I don't have it pulled up, but like I did
It's
all the
ready.
downloading last night, so it's ready to go.
Nice. Nice. Um all right. So, kind of our last story before we transition, and this is
Mm-hmm.
kind of a shorter one. Uh, Grand Theft Auto 6 is getting a trailer early in December.
Mm-hmm. And it's officially announced now.
It is officially announced. I mean, they announced that it was in
I
development
mean,
a while ago.
yeah. Well, the thing is, they were forced into announcing it,
No, 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 no.
because
They had announced GTA 6 before the leak. They did.
yeah.
I remember
Okay.
that. They came out and said, "Yes, we are in fact working on GTA 6." And then the leak
And
happened.
and then the leak happened, and I will say it was from what I saw of the leaks. And I'm not usually a leak person, but it got me excited. I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
Last year it got me excited and kind of got me like, mm, I want to go back into this series really bad. But it's like it's like seeing like a leak from the Elder Scrolls 6 or
Yeah.
something. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, great. When is this actually going to happen?
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what
When
I
am I
mean?
actually going to be able to
Um,
play this?
and you know, I think this year has been like crazy, um, with people losing their minds of wanting an update on Grand Theft Auto 6. It's like the
Yeah.
leak happened and it opened the floodgates of people having this expectation
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
we're finally going we're going to hear about it soon. And I think that I think that ruined Rockstar's plan a little bit,
Yeah,
because I
probably.
think if we fast forward to now and their plan, I tell you what, they would not have tweeted that out yesterday. They would not have tweeted that out. They would have saved it for the Game Awards
Yeah.
and just surprise. That would be
That would have been a
that would be the
showstopper.
headline,
Yeah.
and it's still going to be the headline.
I mean,
You know,
okay. They have said early in December we will release the first trailer for the next Grand Theft Auto. That
right?
doesn't mean it's necessarily at the Game Awards.
It's 100% at the Game
I
Awards. I'm telling you this
okay.
right now.
I don't think you're
Oh,
necessarily
I should
wrong.
mention we are in a trailer warning. We are
Yeah,
not in a watch. We are in a trailer
this is a
warning.
trailer warning. Um, yeah. So I don't disagree with you. I just think usually this kind of thing they would say our trailer is going to be at the Game Awards. Watch the Game Awards to catch our trailer,
I
right?
think it's a whole thing they got worked out with Jeff Keighley. I'm not joking. I think they're
Man,
going to make us think that we're not going to get it at the Game Awards. We're going to go throughout the whole entire thing, and that's going to be their one more thing. I'm not even
I
joking.
just think I think no I see my theory is that it comes out before.
I mean, it's possible.
Like early December
But
is like
early December is December 7th. It could be December 7th too.
no,
You know.
yeah. I mean, this is all speculation. I just think usually if something comes out before the Game Awards, my headspace is, oh, then it's not going to be at the show.
Yeah.
That's usually where I'm at. So like if Rockstar, because this is a franchise that goes dark for literally a decade, and then
Hmm.
and is like just now getting ready to like show stuff from the game. Like we don't even know if GTA 6 is coming out next year. Like
We don't
that's
even know
not.
if it's GTA 6.
Mm,
That's the thing, because they even like even in this tweet they're like the next Grand Theft Auto game.
yeah, they didn't call it GTA 6. That's true.
And that's an interesting thing to point out. So, you and I talked about even before the podcast, is this going to be an online focused game? Because it could be, and I think it
It
would be
could.
great. It could be also just a pure story based game, and them wanting to solidify that by maybe not calling it GTA 6.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah, I mean
saying?
there's
Maybe
so many
go back to its
possibilities.
roots with saying GTA City. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I think it's possible. But you've touched on the right point here, though. They have gone dark for 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they've done several online updates, but as far as Rockstar used to put out so much.
Yeah.
Like Take Two, they they used to put out so much, and then they had a mass like they, Grand Theft Auto was a massive hit before, but ever since they did their online component,
Yeah.
it came out at the best time ever for online. It was in the height of online play,
Yeah.
multiplayer.
Oh yeah.
Um, and so why would you make another one in that height?
Well,
And
not to mention, I mean, we have to put this into context a little bit. GTA 5 is only surpassed by Minecraft in sales.
exactly, yeah,
It is the second most successful video game ever released. Single video
and
game
it's
ever released.
and it's the only console that has survived 3 console generations,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is even a wilder statistic.
Yeah.
Like we were playing this. I was playing this on the PS3.
Yeah.
You know
Oh
what
yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you know, but it's not just down to Grand Theft Auto. It's like down to Rockstar as a company,
Yeah.
because they did the same thing with Red Dead Redemption 2, which
Yeah.
was the first, like, it's not the first because there's Red Dead Revolver, then there's Red Dead Redemption, and then there's Red Dead Redemption 2. But
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption, I think, came out like, now I could be wrong on this statistic, but
Wasn't
I'm
that
I'm
game like
going
oh
off of pure
six?
memory. Well, Red Dead Redemption was sooner than that. I think it's like two
Oh.
years before Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
Revolver was probably like 06, 07 ish.
Sure.
But uh, Redemption was around that time. So you had a big hit with Red Dead Redemption, and then you went into Grand Theft Auto 5. And then it takes them about 5 years to do Red Dead Redemption 2.
Mhm.
And then it's been another 5 years. So they haven't stepped off the gas. But the
Yeah.
thing is, it's clear that as a company, their focus is now one game at a time and giving that the best follow up they can.
Which honestly great.
And it is great. But as for fans, if you're just a pure Grand Theft Auto fan and not a Red Dead Redemption fan,
Oh yeah.
sorry, you gotta wait 10 years.
Yeah, you've been in pain
Like,
for a while.
it's just like I mentioned it earlier. If you're an Elder Scrolls fan and not a Fallout fan, Your wait has been your wait has been even longer than GTA 5.
Well,
Let's just put it that way.
not to mention now that Starfield is a thing. I mean, what, you're gonna be lucky to get a new Elder Scrolls
Right.
game every 15 years? Like,
Exactly. Like, well, I can attest.
yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
am an Elder Scrolls fan and not a Fallout fan. It's a hot take, but it's true. And yeah, so it's been a very long drought, and every year I put on that clown makeup of maybe saying this year's the year, and I felt like I even had the most clown makeup when the actual teaser came out of, we're making it teaser, not a
You know what's
not a
you know what's funny about that? We're making it teaser.
yeah.
We
They
haven't
didn't even
seen
do
it
it.
since.
Exactly. Well, even like
They've
I
like
think Phil
barely
Spencer.
started.
Well, no, not Phil Spencer. Todd Howard even mentioned, "Oh yeah, now we're going to work on
Yeah, yeah. Like, oh
it
yeah,
in the
we're
midst
now
of
that
Starfield's
yeah,
release."
yeah. No, I think he said it like, yeah, no. Now we move on to Starfield, and I'm like, why did you even show Elder Scrolls 6? Like, what was the point?
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's
So
never going to.
funny.
Well, it is going to happen, but it's going to. I'll be. Here's to put it in perspective. I will be. I played the Elder Scrolls. I think in sixth grade. I think that's somewhere around there.
5? You mean Skyrim?
Yeah, I've played Skyrim. Wait, when did that come out?
Mm-hmm. Time to go looking.
Yeah. Did it get into the 2010s or was that just before it?
Skyrim. 2011.
Okay, so that. Yeah, I was in the sixth grade when I played the Elder Scrolls, like Skyrim.
Yeah.
By the time this game comes out, I will probably, like, I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
I will probably be married and maybe even have a house by then.
Which
Which is
is
even crazy to think about.
that's I mean, it's crazy that you could afford a house, but
Well, no, well, I'm talking 5 years down the line because
yeah.
that's where we're at. Like, at least 5 years down the line. Like, that's what that tells me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't even seem like it's like 2 years away.
Yeah.
So that's like my point of like it's a wild statistic. I know a
Big
lot of us are
roofs.
like, a lot of us are making the jokes right now with GTA of like, oh, this is what I looked like 10 years ago, and to today, like, yeah, it's crazy. It's like a wild thought to think about. And I'm probably going to be right. You know what I'm saying? Um, but nonetheless, like, yeah, it's just a good thing to see this announcement. But the topic isn't really that it got announced. It's more of the gap. You know what I mean? That gap's
Yeah.
finally at its end.
Yeah.
It's
And
quite wild to think about.
yeah, I mean, I would say, I guess for the audience a little bit, like, a trailer is going to be a trailer. I don't get too excited. We don't
Mm-hmm.
know, right? Like, we just,
Oh,
there's so little that we know about with this
yeah.
project
The
that,
biggest upset is that this is the reality of what it's going to be. It's going to be a 90-second trailer.
yep.
And I'm telling you this right now. It's going to be a 90-second trailer. We're going to see shots of the city, and we'll hear some like overhead dialogue.
Yeah.
You won't see anything, and then it'll probably end with the actual playable character,
And that's it.
and that's the end.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think this is anytime soon. I
Yeah.
really don't think. I think this is at earliest next holiday season.
At the very
At
earliest.
earliest,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know when this game's coming out. I don't have any predictions, but yeah, I think, again, I guess just don't get your hopes up would be my general vibe.
Hmm.
Um all right, so Caleb, I mean, I think this has to be your kind of prophecy fulfilled, so to speak.
Prophecy has been
Um,
fulfilled.
yeah.
We have a confirmed touchdown. It's no longer a warning, it's a confirmed touchdown. I was right.
No,
My
no more
validation,
clown makeup.
no more clown makeup. I have been redeemed. And what I mean by that is we didn't get the Missing Link trailer.
Yep.
And Kingdom Hearts missing Link. And you might be like, Caleb, why are you freaking out over a mobile game? Well, let me tell you.
It's
It's not just about the
alive.
mobile game.
It's
It just means
alive.
exactly everything's alive with Kingdom Hearts, and that
Yeah.
all my concerns are now off my shoulder.
Yep.
And honestly, I'm really excited for this game. Like,
Yeah.
when this was first announced, I thought this was such a cool idea. Now, granted, there has been so many Pokemon Go clones out there,
Yeah.
but the idea of this within the Kingdom Hearts universe is like, it just fits like bread and butter.
It
Like,
could genuinely be really cool. Yeah.
yeah, and I think they got some really fun concepts going on with how they're going to make that style within the gameplay.
Yeah.
From what I could see in the trailers, uh, I don't really got much to say on it
Yeah.
because it doesn't really dive into much, especially into story. It doesn't really.
Yeah.
Even though we do see some, like, all the dialogue's so vague that you can't really make any connections with.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the biggest reveal is that the fancy door from KH1 is going to be in this
Is
game.
back, yeah.
Like that's like the biggest reveal in this trailer, because we already got Brain back in the reveal trailer.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there's not. Yeah, you're right. There's not a whole lot in the trailer. I mean, we'll see if we finally get to open that door. But yeah, well, it's very
That's
much.
a good point. Yeah,
We opened the door, right?
I'm pretty sure you did. Yeah,
But
now I'm
yeah,
gonna be like, maybe I need to go back and play the first
we'll-
few moments again.
but
Hold
yeah,
on, let's pause this podcast and I'll pull it up real quick. I'm joking.
um, yeah. I think I think this game, it sounds like this game is going to be what I hope is that this game feels more like something you can play to gain a greater appreciation for the narrative than something you have to play in order to understand the narrative. If
Yeah,
that makes any sense. That's my biggest, because the biggest problem with the previous mobile games were the fact that both of them have extensive lore that means like a lot to the kind of context of the Kingdom Hearts franchise, especially moving forward after 3. So, we'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic about this project. We will see if it works out. If it, we'll see. They announced it for 2024. I would guess probably in the front half of 2024. Could be wrong.
Under normal circumstances, I'd be like, "Oh, we're getting a beta test. Must mean it's soon." I learned my lesson. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, we were there was a beta test in January,
Yeah,
and that
it's been a
deficit
while.
was long. So I'm
Yeah.
just gonna put it this way: I'm hoping 2024.
Yeah, I
I'm gonna
mean,
lose my mind if it's not 2024.
yeah, I mean that would be like, okay, time to cancel the game and just go
Yeah,
focus on 4 at this point. Like,
exactly.
don't worry about Missing Link. We don't care that much.
Right. Just make it into whatever story ideas had. Just make it into like a back cover story,
Yeah, just make it
and
into a
then be done
movie.
with it.
Yeah.
Re-release a previous Kingdom Hearts game. Maybe you do like Kingdom Hearts 3.5, and then you attach it to that, and then you rope in everybody to get it that way.
Kingdom Hearts
Like,
3.5. Oh, that would be
which
so good.
I'm joking, but
Unironically, they could do that.
they
Actually,
could. They could absolutely do that. They could, because you know what they could do is like they could do Kingdom Hearts 3, Remind, Union Cross, Dark Road. You know, maybe
man,
even throw in uh,
Melody of Memory.
Melody of Memory
Yeah.
if you wanted to, and then there you go.
That's how that
Like,
actually, yeah, how I would do it if I were doing a KH 3.5. So what I would do is it would be PS5, Xbox Series exclusive. So
exactly, yeah.
you get like the ray tracing and all that like crazy stuff. Better load times.
Hmm.
Maybe cut load times. Actually, you could probably cut load times from KH3. And then so you get KH3, Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, and then you get Melody and Memory, and then maybe like a really condensed movie that covers
Hmm.
UX and Dark Road and whatever's going on with Missing Link. It would be really hard, and I don't really see them doing it, but it's something they
Hmm.
like. If they were desperate and they were like, we
Yeah.
need a way to kind of infuse interest back into the series, that would probably be the best way to go about it.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, Missing Link, I'm cautiously optimistic for it. I'm not gonna lose my mind over a Kingdom Hearts mobile game just because look at how that turned out last time. But it could be really good, and it looks to be using kind of the base of Kingdom Hearts 3, which I already like. So yeah.
Hmm.
Um. So that actually leads us pretty nicely into my new segment. So Caleb has trailer watch. Um, we got to figure out like some kind of double entendre with the tornado thing.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know exactly what that is, but we got trailer watch, and I was thinking, my expertise is in knowing too much about specific franchises, and I think Caleb, you could attest that like you are fairly familiar with Kingdom Hearts lore. I
Hmm.
know Kingdom Hearts lore, um, and so like there's all sorts of stuff that I just kind of have in my brain, and then
Hmm.
there's other franchises like I know a ton about Zelda, Sonic, Trails, all sorts of stuff. So I was thinking, oh, this could be my segment, my
Hmm.
my kind of special thing. And what better way to introduce my new segment titled Ezra's Crazy Lore and Theories with a Kingdom Hearts related theory that I have developed over the past couple weeks.
What?
Yep.
What?
So
No, because I know where this is going. I'm like, what?
okay, so to preface, a couple weeks ago, I had told Caleb that I needed him to do some
Oh
research
no.
on Drakengard lore.
Oh
And
no.
what he doesn't know is that that was not in service of a Drakengard and Nier explanation. That was in
Oh no.
service of a Square Enix theory and explanation, I guess is the best way I would call it. So,
See, that's the part I was not aware of, and that's why
yeah.
I'm freaking out. Because now my mind is kind of like, what?
So yeah,
Where
you're
are we
like,
going with this?
yeah, you have to let me cook a little bit.
Okay,
All
I'll
right.
let you cook.
So, okay. So first things first, we have to start with Final Fantasy because this is kind of the the thing that kind of the glue that kind of holds it all together in my mind is Final Fantasy. So, and I do have to spoil a little bit of Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, not much, and you're really not missing out on much, anyways.
Okay.
So in Final Fantasy VII Remake, based on the visuals of the Sephiroth fight in that game, it is strongly suggested, strongly implied that the Sephiroth that you fight at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake is the same Sephiroth from the end of Final Fantasy VII Advent Children.
Okay, that's not really much of a spoiler.
Yeah, and if you know, Final Fantasy VII Advent Children is a sequel to the original Final Fantasy VII.
Right.
So it has created this kind of split timeline thing in the 7 remake trilogy where, you know, Zack is still alive in an alternate timeline. There's all sorts of like crazy stuff that's going on in the 7 franchise. Now, I posited a little while ago that it is possible that the Sephiroth that we fight in Kingdom Hearts 2 and KH1, but mostly Kingdom Hearts 2, there's a chance that that could be considered the same Sephiroth.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Am I right? Like, there's a chance and this has been further compounded by the new location that we're going to in Kingdom Hearts being Quadratum, which is basically just square, right? So you know we're going to square in the next game. So you know we've got that side of things. We've got that side. Jumping over to Drakengard, there is this. I guess Drakengard and Nier, because they're kind of both the same thing. There is this. There are kind of 2 simultaneous timelines sort of running at the same time in that franchise. They kind of begin and end at different points, and there's a theory that it's all kind of looping around, so it all kind of feeds into itself. But the Nier franchise has this concept of, you know, alternate dimensions that is very much a part of the franchise, the lore of the franchise. And the reason that Nier exists is because the main character at the end of Drakengard 1 in ending E ends up in modern day Tokyo in the Nier timeline. So, you know, it all kind of spirals out of control from there. So I was kind of thinking about that. I was listening to some stuff, and I was reading Reddit, and somebody pointed out that the Final Fantasy 14 crossover is canon to the Nier timeline.
Oh, of course it is, because it's
Yoko
because
Taro.
It's Yoko Taro. Exactly.
Because Yoko Taro can't control himself.
Yeah. Well, I
And
don't blame him. I would do the same thing.
I
Are
would
you kidding?
absolutely do all of the same stuff that he does.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this, and there's not a Sephiroth isn't in Final Fantasy 14. He's not in there, but
Yet. No, I'm joking.
I mean,
I wouldn't put it
yet
past them.
no, I unironically think he could end up there. There's no reason he couldn't. It's just there's all sorts of stuff. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking like, man, Sora really is only 1 degree separated from the Nier franchise in a lot of ways.
Okay.
And Final Fantasy has a long. I mean, if Dissidia is to be taken as a possible thing in the Final Fantasy universe, if it's taken that it's something that could happen, Sephiroth and Final Fantasy 14 are confirmed to exist in the same existence, I guess is the best way I could put it, where it's they are technically able to cross over because they share a multiverse is kind of how I would put that. So if again, this is I recognize how absolutely insane this theory is, but if the Sephiroth from Advent Children has been time traveling this whole time into like different franchises. I mean, we could say that the Sephiroth in Smash is the Advent Children Sephiroth. Like, there's all sorts of like different ways in which this could be happening. And so yeah, I think if that is a possibility, we have a realm where Kingdom Hearts and the Drakengard franchise and Nier could theoretically cross over, and Final Fantasy is kind of the bridge between worlds in that in that way. And I mean, I don't really have a like theory as to like what the result could be of this. I mean, if you wanted to posit that somehow Kingdom Hearts is canon to the Nier timeline and could have some kind of effect on it, I would be willing to entertain that. But I don't have like a hard like, oh, this is what's going to happen as a result. Because I don't have that. I just have this idea that like they do all exist together.
Well, here's yeah, I'm gonna help your theory here. Okay, you ready?
All right.
So, I think it's from the evidence that has been placed before me. I can reasonably figure it out how this could happen. Okay, so one thing to be clear: Quadratum is seeming to be this center point,
Yeah.
this focal point, right?
Yep.
And we've, Final Fantasy 15,
Yeah.
seems to be
Yeah,
the
that's
most
another
apparent.
that's another aspect of this that
Exactly.
Yozora is so very clearly it has something to do with Noctis, be it the version of Noctis from Versus 13 or the version we got in 15. Yeah.
And I think that, if we are thinking along the lines of Quadratum being like the hollow bastion
Yeah.
of this world of fiction,
Mm-hmm.
that means it's not just limited to Final Fantasy 15. And this can be proven already without even, there's already an apparent subtlety, let's just put it that way.
In the KH4 trailer.
And not even just that in the KH4 trailer, just in Remind and in the base game, the secret ending. It is not just Final Fantasy 15 that's teased. It's the return of The World Ends With You, which is already inherently nowhere near about Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, what we said, what I said to you, I think at some point was it was a little telling to me that they just said there will not be The World Ends With You characters in Kingdom Hearts 3. That, like, in the lead up to that game, they just said it, right? And to me, that was like, oh, they're cooking something. And I didn't know what it was, but I was like, oh. And, you know, now that we have, there's a lot of, I wouldn't say evidence necessarily to suggest that The World Ends With You is going to end up somehow tying into the KH universe. I mean, they've, Nomura was basically, when the whole like Neo World Ends With You box art thing was happening, he basically was like, oh yeah, I guess that's kind of a funny coincidence. So
yeah,
like, you know, there's, I wouldn't say that it's a sure thing, but I do think that Square is a part of this equation. And what I'm hoping,
we're forgetting about one important aspect of it, though. It's not just the teases within the secret ending and Remind. There's also Dream Drop distance to think about. And what is one thing that what's his name? Joshua says, one of his last lines to Sora. I think it is his last line to Sora. See you in Shibuya.
Oh yeah, he does. He says, see you in
It's
Shibuya.
like so crystal clear that they could easily bring the World Ends With You back within Quadratum.
Yeah.
That it could open the floodgates for any Square property to show up.
Yeah. Well,
so I agree with you.
And I think there's really, I mean, so the hope for me, because there, you know, Star Wars is all but confirmed for Kingdom Hearts 4.
Yes.
The hope is that they do all sorts of crazy stuff with Disney Worlds. I don't necessarily. So I think I want to say I don't necessarily want Sora to end up fighting the machines from Automata and like be a part of that narrative. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. I think Yoko Taro doesn't think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What I would like to see is Sora end up in one of the like two timelines, whatever that ends up being, and participates in some kind of
it goes down to
something, part of the history or something like that. Like maybe he's part of maybe he like is there when the aliens first attack Earth, or you know, whatever it ends up being. And so Yoko Taro can kind of work it in without breaking the franchise, because part of the problem with any potential crossover between Kingdom Hearts and Nier is the fact that they are diametrically opposed franchises in their method of storytelling, where Nier is very much like it's all gray area. There's no there's kind of no good guys and no outright evil people. Everybody's kind of got their problems. Kingdom Hearts is like, we have the good guys and we have the bad guys. And yeah, the bad guys are a little sympathetic, but we still got to beat up the bad guys, because the bad guys are going to end the world, or, you know, whatever whatever it ends up
Mhm.
being at that time. So yeah, I think I think a lot was said like, oh, what if at the end of the Sephiroth fight in KH2, when Cloud and Sephiroth kind of go off and continue their battle to who knows where, what if they ended up in Quadratum,
Mhm.
right? What if?
Or even just, I think it's highly possible that any of these characters could just be within interconnected within the story
Yeah,
of
yeah,
whatever Kingdom Hearts 4 is, because like it could be as simple as how Kingdom Hearts 1 was, where the Final Fantasy characters were worked into the story
yeah.
almost from the beginning and then all the way to the end, and they had their own story of, this is our world, we can't go back to it,
Mm-hmm.
and this is our journey back to it, and this
Yep.
is like the Final Fantasy characters have a complete arc in both KH1 and KH2. Like there's a
Yeah.
purpose to them being there, and they can easily work whatever characters they can bring in. Like if they wanted to bring 2B in, you know what I'm saying, or
Yeah.
and be able to bring those characters in and just have them trapped and fight to go back. I think it could easily work and work within whatever Yoko Taro's bad brain he has.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Well, and
Um,
and yeah, I mean, I kind of my last little piece of the puzzle is my guy Yoko Taro's been a little quiet ever since
he
Near
is.
Replicant. Uh, Now that said, we had the Voice of Cards trilogy. He's
Hmm.
working on a game with Sega, so like it's not like he hasn't been doing anything. But
Oh, just wait, Ezra. Just wait, because the Game Awards is coming up, and I'm going to have a wild trailer watch segment coming up
okay,
soon.
okay,
So just you wait,
okay.
and
I'm
this,
excited.
a
I'm
little
excited.
tease of the crazy the
Um,
craziness that will be happening during that time.
I think, but what has also been extremely quiet is
Mm,
the Kingdom Hearts team,
exactly.
and again, it's not. This doesn't confirm anything. I'm not getting my hopes up. I
Hmm.
refuse to to try to like speak this into existence and then be disappointed when it doesn't happen. I'm almost certain none of this is going to come to fruition.
Absolutely.
But
But
if in
I
the
mean,
next Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer,
mhm.
anywhere, Yoko Taro is listed as part of the development team, I will lose my mind. Like,
Well, even if we get like a tease of a certain like sword or something,
yeah, I mean, if we get a sword, I will be like, holy crap, what are they doing?
we would be
Like,
absolutely losing our
I would
mind.
be losing my absolute mind. There's,
Like if say that trailer happens and it's like at the Game Awards, and we're somehow able to figure out being in the theaters or something, everybody else will be like woo, and then we're going to be like what, what.
what?
We'll be
Yoko Taro?
losing our minds.
Yeah. No, Tetsuya Nomura in collaboration with Yoko Taro. Like
Exactly.
that is a sentence that I think nobody could deny sounds really interesting on its own. And then
Hmm.
that taking place within Kingdom Hearts is even more like, oh, how are they going to manage this?
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's kind of the end the end of that. It's pretty wild. We'll
that was wild.
I'll be back. I'll probably do some more like I'll probably not do a whole ton of like my own theories, but more like, oh, here's what the lore explanation. I mean, I think my next one's probably going to be Zelda, because there's all sorts of like crazy stuff to do with like timelines and
Hmm.
they're the whole concept of the spirit of the hero and stuff in Zelda. So there's a lot that can be pulled from. Uh, and it doesn't like it doesn't it's not me like positing something, it's me trying to explain something bananas.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I hope that was that was fun for me. I hope
Oh
that was
yeah.
fun for everybody else.
Well, that was wild because I
Yeah.
was not expecting that. I'll be honest. I was
Yeah.
expecting to deep dive into Nier and not Kingdom Hearts. So
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I was when I remember I was like, oh yeah, he doesn't know what's gonna happen.
I
I,
was pretty sure it was going to be Nier. I
yeah,
knew that from what you told me, but I was more like,
yeah.
yeah. And I was nervous too because I haven't played Replicant, so I was like,
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't gonna
deep dive into
spoil.
Replicant,
I wasn't gonna spoil
which,
replicants. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, replicants. And it's easy enough to explain near lore while also going around all of the important stuff in a replicant,
Yeah.
actually, because there's like there's the story of replicant, but all of like
Mm-hmm.
the important stuff for the timeline of near actually happens as kind of an undercurrent of replicant, and it doesn't really like come to the surface all that much.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like as long as you like avoid like naming too many names, you could kind of like
Mm-hmm.
get away with spoiling all of replicant without ruining a player's experience with it. um but yeah, I think I wasn't gonna do that anyways. I was more interested in bringing this absolutely insane Sephiroth theory into
Mm-hmm.
light. All right, so kind of our last big discussion that we're gonna have for today's show is Spider-Man,
Oh yeah.
and so Caleb beat it. I think what on Thursday last week. Is that right?
Uh,
I don't remember.
yes, I think it was.
Okay, yeah.
It was either Wednesday or Thursday because I think it was Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday because
Okay.
Friday I platinumed it.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Because
that's
I
right.
wanted to platinum it on Thursday, but I couldn't get around to it. Oh yeah. No, it definitely was not Thursday because I had something going on. So yeah, it was Wednesday. Couldn't play it on Thursday, and then I platinumed the game within a half hour.
Yeah, it really wasn't that long of a platinum.
No, but yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'm gonna kind of let you take the lead on this one, Caleb, just because I have my own thoughts, but I know
Uh
you've been
huh.
kind of probably on the edge of your seat, kind of antsy about
Oh
it.
yeah.
So I'll
We
let you
have
kind
been,
of.
to put into context, we have been radio silent with each other
Yeah,
on this game
yeah.
because we want to keep this as fresh of an experience as possible. Now, I did. Um, I'll dive into this a little bit later, but I did have to text Ezra on some help on one thing.
Oh
But we'll dive on
yeah.
that later because that was a pretty funny moment.
Yeah.
Um, but we'll dive into that in a minute. But uh, nonetheless, now you might be like, why are we covering this for the second episode in a row? Well, that's because this game deserves a second
It
spotlight
does.
at it.
It does.
And we
Absolutely.
gave our spoiler free review of the game. And I think we deep dived a lot into how the game works and
Yeah.
what is its strengths without diving into the aspects of the story because we didn't really talk about much about the story. This
Yeah.
one is absolutely, we're going to be talking about everything in this game from beginning to end in story and even beyond how even the fights and everything happened
Yeah.
in terms of a gameplay perspective. So this is a full-on, fully spoiled review
Yeah.
and discussion because this is mostly going to be a discussion than it is going to be a review.
Yeah. Don't listen to this if you haven't played Spider-Man 2.
Exactly.
And go play Spider-Man 2, idiot. Like, come on.
Get back on that train. It's not that
Yeah.
long of a game, but
Yeah, seriously.
it's a wild
It's a wild
It's
ride.
a wild time. And first off, I gotta say, um,
Shoot.
I loved the first Spider-Man,
Yeah.
and I loved Miles,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought with each game, I was like, how are they going to do better than that with each
Yep.
of them?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And time again, I have been proven wrong by this creative team.
Because Insomniac is absolutely insane.
Because the Mad Men actually did it.
Yeah.
They did it so much better that like it's almost impossible to go back.
Yeah.
You know
I'm
what I'm
I'm
saying?
unironically like I'm considering never playing the first Spider-Man again,
Exactly.
just because of how good this game was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah. Go ahead.
it's I just got to say it. It's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I don't know what you think. Like
Oh yeah, it's a 10.
what's your feelings towards the game? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
have you?
I am astounded at how good this game is. I went into it. I've kind of gone into this year a little bit cynically, I guess. Not in a bad way,
Mm-hmm.
but just like Tears of the Kingdom came out, blew my pants off, and I was like, well, that's it. Nothing's gonna beat that. And I was like, there are kind of two games that have a shot at beating Zelda: Final Fantasy 16 and Spider-Man 2. And Final Fantasy 16 was good. I like Final Fantasy 16. Doesn't come close to beating Zelda. It's a lot closer with Spider-Man 2. I don't think it. I don't think it. I don't think it actually manages it, but it comes a lot closer than I would have thought it would.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, man, Insomniac really just knows Spider-Man and has a grip on what matters about this character and what it means to be Spider-Man and what it
Right.
means to embody Spider-Man, because there's so many ways in which I think I think that like there are pieces to each of the Spider-Man movies where it's like I think Tom Holland really nails the like awkwardness of trying to be Spider-Man while also being a high schooler. And I think Andrew Garfield really nails the Spider-Man persona, right? Like the actual
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah, I see
when
what you're
he
saying. Yeah.
is Spider-Man, like he really nails that aspect of it. And
He's the most quippy of them all, and
he's the most quippy, and I think he's got the like I think he really nails
mannerisms.
this like the mannerisms and the like oh, I just really like being Spider-Man. And it's like we
Mm-hmm.
get to see sort of the most of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is definitely like the best parts are like when he's just like interacting with random people on the street.
Mm-hmm.
And and you know, Toby Maguire kind of nails like the sort of inner turmoil of what it must mean to be Spider-Man, and how it's like, oh, my personal life is getting ripped apart by the fact that I'm also trying to be a vigilante.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like, and so all of those movies and all of those projects really nail specific elements of being Spider-Man, but they don't get the whole picture exactly, I can say pretty much without a doubt that Insomniac has captured all of Spider-Man in this franchise, in this Spider-Man series. They have captured
Hmm.
the entirety of what it means to be Spider-Man. And
And it's not just with Peter too; it's with Miles as
yeah,
well.
yeah. I mean,
Like,
I am astounded that I came away from Spider-Man 2 not really having a strong preference.
yeah. Well, here's the thing, and you know, this would be going a little off topic a little bit, so I won't dive into it too much. But if you, for me, this Miles is my preferred Miles. Like, I
Interesting.
love this Miles much more than the Miles in the Spider Verse movies. Even though I love that Miles too, don't get me wrong. Um, but the I will say it was so hard for me to watch Across the Spider Verse at moments because I would think of this version of Miles,
Yeah.
and I feel like he has such a like the Spider Verse movies are more about the spectacle of
While in
just the
their
Spider Verse as a whole.
Well, and the Spider Verse movies are more concerned with like the existentialism of
Right.
Spider Man, oh, what is fundamental to the character of Spider Man, and how does all of this fit together? Is like kind of the core question of Spider Man, or
Hmm.
of Spider Verse. Whereas Miles in this game is very much like, oh, he's just a high school kid, like
Right.
like
He's just a high school kid,
yeah,
and like they examine the heart of Miles. I
yeah,
think within these games of just like how his personal connection is with the people around him, how much everything means to him, and it's such a
yeah,
interesting um spotlight on Miles compared to Peter. And I actually really like the age gap that they have. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I think it really works with them both, and it's a great dynamic. And um, you know, Peter's story in this is, I guess, what I'm trying to say is, as much as we get, like, we're playing a Spider-Man the whole game,
yeah,
but when we get to, and this is something that the first game did good, really well, and Miles's game did good too,
mm,
was we got moments to be just Peter or Miles.
yeah,
In this one, they doubled down on it and they gave us more time. And I think some of the things that really worked with this game was it developed stronger relationships with everyone, right? Because
yeah,
I think with the first Spider-Man, it was more about Peter and Aunt May to set up, what eventually happens, and Peter and Doc Ock. I don't
yeah,
think we get much of a connection. I mean, and Peter and Martin Lee too, but I don't
yeah,
think we get really much of a connection of. We barely get anything. Like we, when we do, it's great, but we barely got anything with Mary Jane
yeah.
in the first
Well,
game,
and we got set up with Miles too in the
and
first
we
game.
got set up with Miles. But even then, I don't even think do Peter and Miles even interact until the very end.
They do. They do a few
They,
times.
oh yeah, that's right. They do a few times. Yeah, there's that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, they kind of become the Spider-Man, Miles, and MJ become sort of a unit at the end of the game.
that's true.
When the
Yeah, I
whole
forgot
when the
about that.
whole Devil's Breath thing is happening.
But I will say, I love how they gave them both moments to be with their families.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Oh, absolutely.
like Peter and Harry's relationship, like, it doubled down from the first game in the aspect of, like, Peter's like, oh, I wonder what's happening to my friend, to my friend's finally back, and
Yeah,
nothing's changed about him
when Harry is like,
other than he's better
yeah, like
until
when Harry
until he's
is,
not. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
But
until things go wrong. I think what I think is so well done about Spider-Man 2 is that aside from Craven at the
mhm,
start, pretty much everything's going about as well as it possibly could, right? Like Craven
yeah,
is very much treated as as an issue and not
mhm,
a like central problem. And it's it's only once Peter gets the symbiote suit that stuff sort of starts to spiral a little bit.
mhm. And I gotta say it, the way Peter gets the symbiote suit is probably one of my, if not my favorite moment in the game.
Man,
Like
the
it's
I remember right after when he has that like brawl with the Craven Hunters, um, the first line out of Peter's mouth is, "Oh, this feels good," and I
mhm,
about lost it. I was like, "Oh, they went there."
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it
I
was,
I mean the way, like I said it before on this podcast, like Craven is not an interesting character to me. He's just not. But the when he got interesting
yeah,
to me was the fact that he actually defeated Spider-Man.
yeah. He
And I
beat
thought that was
Spider-Man.
such a brave choice by Insomniac.
Yeah,
And the fact that like that's how, because it was one of the big questions I had going into this game. If Harry's already got the symbiote, how does like is Spider-Man actually going to get this symbiote? You know what I mean? I mean, we
yeah,
kind of knew, you know. I mean, it's plastered all over the
yeah,
marketing. But I'm just saying, like, as a story point, and what I've speculated for 5 years was, how was that going to happen?
yeah,
And the fact that they made that moment more about the personal connection about Harry and Peter,
yeah.
and then instead of the symbiote being that focus point,
Mm-hmm.
was like that sold me
Genius.
on Harry and Peter's relationship,
Yeah.
because
Well,
I wasn't
and
sure how I would feel about it.
yeah,
And and it sold me on Craven. It sold me on how the symbiote was going to be as a character.
yeah,
Um, and that's the thing. The symbiote, you know, I loved how the transition of the symbiote went to Venom.
oh
Like,
yeah. I mean, holy crap.
yeah,
The that when I realized I was going to be playing as Venom, I
oh my god, yeah.
lost my mind. I was I was blown away. That entire section from, the beginning when Harry becomes Venom to the end of the Craven fight was a
Mm-hmm.
12 out of 10. Like
Mm-hmm.
beyond game of the year tier video game right there.
Mm.
I mean, I think, and then to have that, because I think there's definitely a bit of like a formula in terms of the way that like villains are set up um
Mm-hmm.
in this series, where it's like, oh, there's in the first game there's Martin Lee, and then it
Mm-hmm.
becomes the Sinister Six,
And
and
then Doc Ock as the final
and
act.
then
Yeah.
yeah, and Doc Ock is kind of like the leader of the Sinister Six in a way.
Yeah.
And in this game, it's Craven who is then taken out by Venom, who becomes the bigger threat.
Right.
Um,
And
but the
that's such
way, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say that's such the interesting thought, the interesting aspect of it is that Peter couldn't defeat Kraven alone without the symbiote.
Yeah.
And the fact that he had to give it up, like, they do such a great job of, like, when he loses that,
Yeah.
you are now faced with that thought of, that was the only thing able to defeat Kraven. And
Yeah.
now I have to face it against my best friend. That's such a deep
Yeah.
thought.
Well, and
You know what I
then
mean?
yeah, I mean there's so much that that happens where it's like, oh, there's no, I mean, the way that they handle like I really liked the way that they handled Harry's kind of desperation as well, where it's like there's like this sort of resentment that builds where Peter is like, I mean, what's interesting about symbiote Spider-Man in this game is that I don't think he really says anything incorrect, right? He's kind of a jerk about it, but all of his points are pretty valid. He makes some pretty fair assessments about what's going on. And so there's a way in which Harry kind of, but you know, there's also the aspect of like Harry literally cannot survive without the suit. He is going to die.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have the symbiote. So, you know, it's sort of, it exists kind of in this gray area where it's like, oh, Peter is kind of, he's not himself, and he's kind of convinced that like he needs this thing, and it leads so spectacularly into the Peter fight, right, with Miles. And I mean, one of the greatest choices to make was to have the Kraven fight lead directly into Miles's intervention. And I think that like I guess I wanna go in a little bit and say that like that would not have worked without the spectacular overhaul to the boss design that they made in this game, because they, in the first game, I think a very valid criticism would be that the bosses all felt like damage sponges that at the end you got to see a cool animation of.
Yeah. It was very much, there was no health bar.
No health bar. No, it was all gimmicks. It was all
You would
like
have,
set
you would have to,
pieces.
you would have to get a certain amount of damage in before the next quick time event would happen, and then
Yeah.
so it was not like so focused on a health bar and phases of the fights.
And the reason that Mr. Negative and Doc Ock in the first game are the best fights of those games is they actually have phases, and they have like you spend a lot of time like learning the moves and all that stuff. The addition of the parry combined with the health bar combined with the I guess I would just say like the difficulty, right? Because these fights are not a walk in the park.
No, they are not.
They are. I mean, I died more than a few times to every single one of them.
Yep.
Except for the Venom Kraven fight. I think I trounced Kraven.
I died once.
Pretty easily.
I'll admit.
I could be wrong.
No, it's okay. I know why I died, but that was that was a user error than an actual difficulty.
I get you. But like, you know, there's like the way that they take advantage of that, and then like the lizard fight is, it feels so like inconsequential almost to the grand scheme of things, but even that has like, you do the three phases and then you do a whole like web swinging segment where you're
Mm-hmm.
chasing him, and then you get like one last phase where he has a beefier health bar and all of his moves and stuff, and it's like the yeah, there's like so much to the bosses that like, I wouldn't say that they stand up necessarily to the all-time greats. Like, I don't think any of these bosses
Oh yeah.
are as good as any like Kingdom Hearts boss or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like part of the reason that all of these moments land as well as they do is because Insomniac so thoroughly improved on the boss design, and uh, and made them actually interesting and not just kind of a moment of the game. And
Mm-hmm.
like, because I often felt when I was playing Spider-Man Remastered, like, oh, I kind of just want to get back to web swinging.
Yeah.
um, and this game, I was like, oh, I can't wait for that next boss, whatever that's going to be. And so to have a Peter Parker fight, to have, I mean, every boss, aside from Sandman, just because Sandman isn't exactly mechanically super interesting. He's more a tutorial fight than he is a boss fight. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that kind of stunned me. I was like, oh, these bosses are actually really good and
Yeah.
really interesting, and it's not just a beefier enemy. It actually has stuff I have to pay attention to. Yeah, amazing.
I yeah. It's just a purely amazing game, and I think I think to kind of put a bow on this, I think we need to talk about how it ended.
Yeah.
Like
Well, okay. I want to. I
I
want
will.
to.
Okay.
I want to touch on a couple more things
Sure.
before we talk about the ending. Actually, I think Mr. Negative was handled spectacularly in this game.
Yeah.
I think there, because I was always a little sad that he didn't go out in a bigger way in the first
Hmm.
game, just because he was so central to the
Yeah.
like to the kind of core themes of the game, right? Like, there has to still be good in this person, kind of thing. So to have that kind of fulfill itself a lot better, and the way that he kind of, I wouldn't say he redeems himself, but he participates in the solution of this game in a lot
Hmm.
of ways. I really liked that. Um, I love. So okay, Miles's new suit is controversial. Uh,
I forgot about that, and I wanted to touch on that.
I will say my biggest gripe with this suit is the blue thing.
Me
I don't
too.
know what they are. The rest of it looks great, and actually, I think there's an alt color that I think looks really good. Um,
Oh, I didn't look into that
yeah,
too much,
there.
but
I think I think it replaces the blue with white, and there's like other
mhm.
white stuff on the suit, and I think that looks really good. Peter's anti venom suit
Oh,
is
chef's kiss.
great. Pretty much no notes on that. The symbiote suit, both
Hmm.
iterations of the symbiote suit, because
Two
there's
chef's kisses.
yeah, it's amazing. I mean, all of the alt suits in this game are fantastic.
Mm,
Aside from Spider-Punk, because Spider-Punk looks kind of lame. Um, but yeah, there's so much in there that's great. I would say that we got probably my favorite portrayal of classic MJ in this
yeah,
game. Like in the first game, it felt a little played out. Um,
yeah.
and
Well, we didn't get much of her other
yeah,
than I mean, we got 2 side missions,
yeah. I mean, we got a
but
bunch of like
we did,
time
but
playing as her.
most of Peter and MJ's interaction was over the phone.
It was
You know what I'm
either
saying?
over the phone or they were like arguing with each other.
Right.
And
Well,
yeah,
that's the thing. I can only think of 2 scenes off the top of my head where they were in the same room together.
yeah.
Well, actually, 3 scenes.
I can't. I'm not putting numbers to it, but yeah, it's not. There's not a
Right.
whole
Well,
lot.
there's the restaurant scene, there's
Yeah.
the apartment scene, and then I think yeah, no, never
I
mind.
mean,
I think
there's
that's it.
he saves her from Norman Osborn as well. Like she jumps off the building.
Well, that don't count.
Oh,
That
okay.
don't count. But I
Okay.
wouldn't count that only because he's actually Spider-Man in that moment, and then it's also the majority of that
Sure.
mission is just her. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
that's true. That's true. Um, yeah, and this game, they cut down on the Mary Jane missions,
Mm-hmm.
but they had the Mary Jane missions were better,
They were,
and
and narratively they were better too.
narratively they were better too, and MJ is. I mean, the Scream fight is a really good example of
Mm-hmm.
like there's this kind of overwhelming negativity that's been happening, and the
Mm.
whole like she calls J. Jonah Jameson and quits on the spot is like, oh, that's great. And it's
Right.
not like she like in the fight she kind of unloads all of it on Peter and kind of holds him accountable for it in some way, and like holds him responsible, and I think like everybody in that situation kind of realizes like that's not fair.
Mm.
Like MJ's not exactly communicating with Peter on
But
some of this stuff, but they're
right.
like the way that is like resolved, and Peter's like,
Yes, that's what I was
"Hey,
just about to say.
quit your
Yeah.
job. We'll figure it out." Is like, "Oh, that's fantastic," and it like,
Right. Well, it's like it's just not. It's not only for MJ to have resolution in that. It's also Peter too.
yeah, yeah,
Like Peter, it's like this goes that fight is what makes the ending of this game work. Well, at least with Peter's ending. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Um,
yeah, for sure.
like it's it's not just MJ with this as well. Like with this resolution, like Peter. Well, this is one of the things that I love about this game is that Insomniac. This is just like the 3 dimensionality of just both of their in
Yeah,
dynamic that I really love is that this Peter was able to recognize his own faults.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Like,
he
yeah,
knew
he messed up.
he.
I don't want to. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt. I just want to say, like, I'm not saying that Peter didn't do anything wrong, because
Mm-hmm.
he did make mistakes, but there's a way in which uh, that like MJ is also responsible for bringing that forward, and so it's kind of this thing where it's like, I mean, communication is the key to every relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, anyways, keep going with what you were saying.
Well, that's what I'm just gonna say is like, you know, they knew that they both had an instance where they were both not there themselves, and they both were able to like. I love how in the story that went with the choice of not begrudging the other person for that,
Yeah.
and more took it as a reflection of, okay, there's some things that we can be better about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I thought that was just a great story point. And
Yeah.
with Peter being, and I don't want to say retiring, but Peter taking a step back, you know,
Yeah.
and letting Miles run the show. I think it makes sense. Like it makes me excited, and I really loved what they did
Yeah.
because it opens the door for the future, but it also wraps up both of their arcs really well.
Yeah, for
Of
sure.
just not even this game, but like in the past few games.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah. I mean,
and
this fulfilled the last two games spectacularly,
yeah,
I would say. Like they could end the entire project here and I would be happy.
I would not. Didn't, it's the same feelings that I have to God of War Ragnarok, where I'm like, yeah, this was wrapped up in a nice bow, and um, I would want more. I'm
Yeah.
craving more,
Yeah, I hope they
but I'm
keep
also
going.
content with how it ends. Like
Yeah.
I'm very happy with that. It's such a great ending that like
Yeah.
I don't know how they top it off.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, we
and I
got
say that every time.
yeah. I mean, we got the return of Doc Ock. We've got
hmm Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Norman
There's some
Osborn
teases.
kind
Yeah.
of stepping in to the spotlight a little bit more probably.
The question is like I wonder if that's going to be still the next game. Like
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean,
I think that
Wolverine
would
is
be
the
the
next game.
right. Well, no, not that. I mean, like it's very clear. Whatever game is coming out next is going to be Miles' story.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure if I want the return of Doc Ock and Green Goblin to rise
Well, I
be
think that
necessarily Miles' story, and
I think that there's a level to which like I think the way that I kind of see it is like Peter Parker's story in kind of like a timeline thing where like Peter
Mhm.
Parker's story begins before Miles and will end before Miles, if that makes sense. So like he'll still be in Spider-Man 3,
Mhm.
but I don't think that
Yeah.
he's gonna like, and I'm not gonna say that he dies. I'm just gonna say that like the
Right.
Peter's arc is going to, and I mean they tease Silk as well. So um, there are multiple different directions they could go where it's like, okay, we are.
Mhm. There's also Carnage
There's
as
Carnage.
well,
Carnage is set
which
up
was a
with,
wild.
yeah, that was nuts.
I did not see that coming
Yeah,
until I saw the symbiote, and I was like, wait a minute, this
yeah.
guy's kind of like a serial
Well,
killer, and like,
I did accidentally get spoiled that Cletus Cassidy was in the game, and I was like,
oh,
oh,
I did not know that.
that's what this storyline is.
I will say,
Yeah, I think I was
the
looking at IMDb, and it was like, oh, Cletus
gotcha.
Cassidy.
Well, thanks IMDb. um, the thing that I was going to say is that that brings up my side mission discussion. I thought, I made the comment of that in our last review. I made the comment that I thought the side missions blended perfectly well
Yeah,
with the story. I gotta say though, the flame missions should have been saved for a post game storyline.
agreed. Hard agree. Yeah, I think there's,
That's
yeah, I
it.
don't think it
Doesn't need
makes
to be a
any
DLC.
sense for it to be happening concurrently.
No, it doesn't make any sense because like even when the final mission happens, it's like literally daytime in the present storyline, and then like if you go to do that
Yeah,
mission
and then
before
it
the next main
jumps
mission,
to
it goes
night.
to the nighttime.
It jumps to
Um,
night, and it all looks normal.
yeah, exactly. It's definitely meant like I could see that they were like making this as a post game story, and then they were like, well,
Yeah, maybe we should
this
have
is
it.
more like a DLC. Like then that would be a DLC idea, and I don't know. You know what I mean? I could
Yeah,
see there was like a lot of back and forth of where to actually place this.
yeah,
It should have been a post game thing. It didn't have to be a DLC, but it should have been a post game side mission.
yeah,
Um, and
for sure.
that is my only regret. I wish I would have did that last because that would have been
That's fair.
a
That's fair.
wild thing. Now, granted, I did all the side missions before I finished up the main story, and I
Okay.
didn't do it all at the like. I didn't pack it all at the end. I paced it all out within the game story itself. Like when I felt like it was time to go do side missions, I'd go do them. I didn't do them as Peter because I
Yeah,
didn't feel like Peter would be doing side missions at this moment.
yeah,
But
yeah. That's
with
fair.
Miles, I did that pretty much the whole time. I mean, these side missions were good,
Yeah, I would
good,
say most of the side content was much better than the side content in the first game.
exactly. I
And
mean, there was
Miles
great
Morales.
writing with them.
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
mean, there
mean
was one,
Howard.
yeah, the Howard one. Like, I texted you,
Man.
and I knew
Yeah,
you were going through the platinum run. I was like, stop what you're doing. Go do the Howard mission. Because
yeah,
I just played it and I'm like literally almost in tears right now because
yeah,
oof. I mean, it was such a happy mission, and then it just gets like it's coming. You can kind of see it coming. At
yeah.
least I kind of did. And I was like, man,
Oh
all
man.
these birds that I hated in the
Yeah,
the first game, I
yeah,
kind of want to do those missions again. Like they made me care about those missions,
yeah.
and that was really good. I really like that those side missions, and then I like you collect. I know you did at this point, but this is the thing that I got spoiled on. You
Oh, you
collected
got
spider
spoiled on
bots,
the
right?
spider bots. Oh,
Yeah. Well, I
really?
didn't get spoiled. Oh, I didn't. Okay, so this is what happened. I got to the point where I unlocked the spider bots for the first time,
Uh huh.
and immediately I pulled up Twitter and I saw um, Insomniac
Oh,
tweet out the image of the scene that you unlock at the end.
oh,
I was like, "Are you kidding me? The game hasn't even been
man.
out 3 days, and you're doing one of these."
Oh,
Like, you could have at least waited a week. That's what I was
yeah.
thinking to myself. Like,
Well,
that sucked.
man,
But I
that does
knew it was
suck.
coming when I looked at the spider bot and I saw like it was like,
It's like a spider
um,
Gwen or whatever,
yeah,
whatever
something
it
like
was.
that. It was like very clearly this is a lead up to the Spider Verse. But I would not. I would have appreciated not knowing if it was actually going to happen
Yeah,
or not.
man. I
Um,
hope beyond all hope that if they try to make a Spider Verse video game, Insomniac is the one who makes it.
Me too. But that was
And
pretty cool.
yeah,
I liked
it
how
was cool.
that
Yeah.
I liked how that went down.
Yeah.
Um,
I thought it
the,
was really funny that they like directly referenced Doctor Strange and Wong in the
yeah,
in the Black Cat mission. It was like, oh, wait, what are you doing exactly? Um,
exactly.
and then yeah, I mean, have you heard about all of the like Daredevil stuff
Yeah,
with
the Daredevil
the
Easter eggs, and now it's back in the
DLC?
game.
Yeah, like
Which,
I'm I'm like, oh man, maybe Game Awards we get
oh, 100%.
DLC and a Daredevil reveal, like,
I think
because we
we'll get
don't
at
have
least a DLC announcement.
confirmation. I don't. Yeah, we at this point we don't have confirmation for Spider-Man 2 DLC, and that's a bit
Well,
weird.
isn't that well? They didn't do the like they announced that there would be DLC way before this point with the first game, but
Yeah,
keep in mind the first game came out at the end of September,
that's true.
right?
That's true.
It's October, mid October, towards the end of October, we got Spider-Man 2.
Yeah,
So the timeline would still fit, but I think it's if you're going to save some goodies for the Game Awards, that's absolutely the best time to
Daredevil
do it.
is absolutely the best time to do it. Yeah, Man,
And
I hope Daredevil is like
it would be huge.
that's my favorite Marvel character. Like I guess aside from Spider-Man,
Hmm.
that's my favorite Marvel character. Like holy crap, they could pop off so hard.
Yeah.
Bring Travis Willingham back as Wilson Fisk. Like oh man,
And last thing I will say about this game,
yeah.
and it's something that I didn't get to touch on with the last review because it didn't happen to me yet.
Hmm.
Um, this game is so good at, like, this is a well polished game,
Yeah,
well polished. Um,
overall.
it does have one glaring issue, and I heard about this, but it never happened to me. But if you played long hours on Spider-Man 2, eventually there is a glitch in the game where you will become a cube.
Yep.
And I couldn't have had the worst time for that to happen.
Mid Venom fight.
Mid Venom fight. And it
Man.
was like, it's the final mission. You've gone through at least 45 minutes of this
Yeah.
mission. You know, I'm I'm freaking out because I'm like, oh no, it's happening. And I I took a funny picture of
Yeah.
Venom, like literally I'm on my last hit and it's telling me to heal and I'm a literal cube and I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Well, and
And
you
I
sent me that
texted, that's when I
picture, and I couldn't see what was wrong with it, and I was like, I don't know what the problem is. And then you were like, oh, don't you see the cube? And I was like, oh crap.
worst timing ever, let me tell you.
Worst timing. That's the funniest, like the worst way that could have happened, because it happened to me while I was doing the platinum, while I was like doing stuff for the
Yeah.
platinum. So it was like, oh, I'll just reset the game and it's fine. But during the Venom fight, it's like, oh, now you have to.
Yeah, you're doing a gamble of actually if you're going to restart the whole mission or not.
Yeah, and
Luckily, I didn't
yeah,
have to.
yeah.
I
Thankfully,
picked up right
the
where I left
checkpoint
off.
happens at the phase transition. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that wasn't too bad, but you know, I gotta say, if that's my only glitch of the game, I will take it.
that's
That was
pretty good.
hilarious.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That
I-
yeah, like and Insomniac is like they have taken active steps to fix that stuff.
right. And here's the thing: I've played a lot of games this year where I've dealt with some extreme glitches. Jedi Survivor.
Yeah.
To almost where it's almost unplayable. So if it feels really good to play a polished game. Let's just
Yeah.
put it that way. And so
Yeah, for
all
sure.
around, kind of just a little bit. If it's all right with you, is there anything else that you wanted to cover?
No, I think that's it for me. I mean,
Okay,
Venom, holy
I'm just
crap.
gonna. Yeah, exactly. Um, Kind of my final thoughts on the game is that this was a huge improvement from the first one and from Miles. Like
Yeah.
I'm loving this series. Have no bad complaints about them, and I'm so excited to what we see in the future.
Yeah.
And I all I've felt since playing that game is, man, I've played a lot of really great games this year. This is like,
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts being released this year, this is absolutely the best gaming year I have ever had,
Yeah, I mean it is the
without a doubt.
new 2017 for sure. Like
Yeah, like
we're
I
in
just got fed really well,
yeah, yeah.
and I
We
can't
got
complain.
so many amazing games this year. Yeah, I think for me, I'm very much like next year we've got like back-to-back releases that I am personally really excited for.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean 2023 undeniably like Zelda, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Mario Wonder, like I'm
Hmm.
probably forgetting some. Like we've gotten so many amazing games this year. Yeah, we I am very grateful to have been able to play even a fraction of those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
so all right, well, we are sort of at the end here, I guess. And with that comes kind of our announcement that we teased at the beginning of the show. So, Caleb, why
Well,
don't
we've been
you?
teasing it the whole show.
Yeah, well, teasing it the whole show, and we've been teasing it sort of since we started the podcast too.
Well, no, I know that, but I mean, so we've talked about before, like we want to do a book club type thing,
Yep.
where I think we talked about once a month, or maybe it's like once every other month, something like that, where we would dedicate a podcast episode to something that we decide on. We're gonna we're gonna deep dive into that. We're gonna
Yeah.
both play it. We're gonna do it. Very clearly, we started off with Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Like that got 2 podcast episodes.
Yep.
It was a very special thing.
Yep.
But basically, it's like a one. I don't know if that would just be that episode. Like, I don't know if we would cover news and stuff. But I think this Spider-Man 2 is a pilot in a sense of what is to come. And I think we're going to be with this next one, it's going to be something that I think we're going to alternate who gets to decide on what each time. I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think this is something that I don't know necessarily if this is something that like will start with this next one. I think that might start with the next one, whether or not we'll come in with what we choose.
Sure.
But I think if it's all right with you, Ezra.
Yeah.
I think it's very clear what the next book club type game we do. And we've been talking about it all podcast. That's what I was talking about. And so I'm going to let that sink into your brain for a second, Ezra. I want you to think.
I'm having a bit of I'm having to think about it a little bit. There's one that's a bit obvious to me.
It's probably that one that you're thinking about.
Is it Tears of the Kingdom?
No.
No,
Not that one.
It's not that
one. Not Tears of the Kingdom.
KH3?
I will be. Let's just say we are going to be doing a deeper lore drive into the Nier franchise.
Oh, you're looking at Nier Replicant.
Yes. Ooh. In the midst of this whole entire podcast, I downloaded Nier Replicant onto my PS5.
Ooh. That's a game.
And that is next. And obviously Ezra has already played it.
I have played Nier Replicant. I have. So we should. We should be. So I think we're gonna kind of give ourselves 2 podcasts from now, basically. So probably essentially beginning of December, we will kind of have our first book club. And I think Nier Replicant. We should also clarify. You have also already played Automata, so
yes,
you know everything that happens in that game.
But Replicant's been sitting in my backlog for 2 years.
Yeah,
I've literally had it for 2 years. I just haven't touched it, which is crazy to think about. But like, there's been so many other good, great games coming out that like it has to just sit there. I God of War came out, Star Wars came out, Final Fantasy 16 came out. I got it a year ago, so all those other games were like very clear top priorities for me. But Replicant is no no slouch either. I mean, that's another juggernaut, and I can't wait to get a really deep dive into it.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe by
what you think about it.
Maybe by the time we're doing this, maybe I'll be on Automata too. Maybe it's time to do both. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I am definitely the way that I, without spoiling things, the way that I often recommend, the way that I've thought about like how I would recommend Nier and Nier Automata to people is like I would play all the way to the true ending of Nier first, and then
Mm.
go to Automata, and then jump back to the post game ending of Replicant. Uh,
Okay.
and I'll explain that to you
Oh, of course.
once you get there, just so you have a better way of processing that.
But I have deemed my next game like this was already kind of like I've been thinking about it like even before
All right.
you even said to look into the lore. I was
Okay.
like, yeah, I think Nier's my next game. Like I
Okay.
already
Yeah.
thought about it. Like that's like
Well,
it's been sitting there, and
yeah. I mean,
and
I
I think
think
that's
it
the
would.
best way to do our book club.
Yeah, I agree. I think, the Nier franchise is one of the most interesting stories in video games. I think everybody kind of owes it to themselves to at least know what happens, because I think it has a lot of relevance to a lot of the things that are going on in the world today. And yeah, I think we
Mm-hmm.
should. I'm really excited to go over Replicant. I actually just made a video on the very start of Replicant. If you want to go over to my channel,
Mm.
I just thought that was that I was interested in how that opening kind of worked. So um, yeah, I think you know yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think Nier is a great idea to get started, and I think you'll see a lot of the uh, I think your first playthrough of Replicant will actually lend a lot of credence to my theory actually, just based
Mm-hmm.
on some of the stuff that happens in that game. I think is really interesting in the context of Square Enix as a whole.
Mm.
So yeah, I think that's a great idea. So, 2 podcasts from now, that puts us at, I don't know, when is
It
that?
puts
So
us at the Game Awards, so I would say the podcast after that. You know what I mean?
oh yeah. Okay, yeah, that is the
So
Game Awards night, isn't it? So yeah,
so about 3 podcasts for right now.
yeah. So that's I mean that I would say, I would hope at least that that's more than enough time for you to at least get through Replicant.
Absolutely. I think. Well, playing Fortnite tonight. I'm putting my foot down. I'm doing that tonight. But
Yeah,
Replicant. I don't know if I'll. I might not start until Monday,
yeah,
but that's when I'll start really going into it.
yeah.
Um, and that's kind of my plan. So.
Well, I can let you know, like, oh, just because, like, it's not a spoiler to say that there are multiple playthroughs
Mhm.
of Near Replicant,
Obvious.
and I can
Yeah.
and I can I can I can I can tell you, like,
Well,
how to cut down
that's the
on
thing.
time if you need
Yeah,
to.
and that's why I'm like I saved another Automata playthrough so I can go from Replicant to Automata, and I thought that would be a great idea to do
Yeah.
some of the alternate ending that I didn't get to. I mean, I played the
Well,
main story and I played the final story too.
you got ending in Automata, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got through the main stories, but I didn't purposely try to do alternate endings like,
Oh.
you know, go do this and then don't do it. You know what I'm saying type thing. Oh,
Well, those are all
you know how?
jokes usually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I'd like to get through A through
Yeah.
Z
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I don't know if I've
as much
ever.
as I could.
I don't know if I've ever done that.
Well,
Actually,
it's like it's
my
hard to
favorite.
do because I don't. You don't know unless you're
Yeah.
looking at a list, and I won't be looking at a of how to do it. Like I'll
That's
just
yeah.
try to purposely like try to find multiple ending ways. I
I I
think.
I will say some of the endings are like, that is like trying to figure out how to get that ending is like, how did they expect anybody to figure this
Oh,
out?
that's true.
So
That's
there's
true.
there's specifically one where it's like, I'm having trouble remembering, but there's one where like it's at this very specific part of the game, and you have to like wait, like just
Mm-hmm.
stand there for like 10 minutes or something. I don't remember
Hmm.
how long, but it's like there's one part of the game where it's like an alternate ending is that you didn't get to the destination in time when that isn't even a
Gotcha.
mechanic in the rest of the game. um and like the game and like the way in which the game like kind of forces things to happen in that is like
Mm-hmm.
the fact that that is an alternate ending is crazy to me. So yeah, I think yeah, I think this is a great idea. I think
Yeah.
Nier is an excellent start, and I will try to cook up because we're gaming podcast, but we're not exactly limiting ourselves to
Mm-hmm.
video games. So I'll be cooking up, what I think you should watch for the next next
Yeah.
month, I guess. After that, so yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Okay.
yeah, and I'm excited for this because I think it'll be fun to. I think part of the reason that we started a podcast is that we share so many similar tastes, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not that we both play video games; it's that we both enjoy the same kinds of video games. So
And then we
we
could report back to each other which worked and which didn't.
yeah, and
You know.
I could say like yeah, if you liked Automata, you should play the first Nier game, and all that, and like I think I am part of why Caleb is such a big Kingdom Hearts fan. Um, at least I like to think that,
Yeah.
and I think Caleb is very much a part of why I am such a big Spider-Man fan. Actually,
Oh,
like I think
thank you.
that there's there's synergy that isn't just
Mm-hmm.
oh we both play video games like that so we are able to kind of tap into something and say like there is something here that I like that I know that you like and vice versa, and I think that like there's that trust where it's like okay we're not going to just recommend something that we're not sure about. Like no, I liked it,
Mm-hmm.
so there's a pretty good chance you're gonna like it.
Exactly.
So yeah, there's a lot of that. So yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
well
Great episode.
yeah, great episode. We went a little long. That's okay. I mean, I think we're both
I
sort of starting to reconsider the hour and a half limit that we've placed on ourselves.
Well,
um
I think this one was inherently kind of impossible.
yeah,
Like we had so many great news topics to talk about. We had
we had the
we
theory
had a
the
wild theory to talk about that was eventually going to happen on the podcast. Like it was eventually going to happen. Like we knew that there was going to
Oh
be
yeah, I
a,
was.
one day.
This is. I should say this is not the first time Caleb and I have talked about this.
Yes.
This is not
Like
the first time this discussion has occurred.
when Kingdom Hearts theories get thrown out, it takes hours. So
Yeah,
the fact that we were able to get it done within like what a half hour,
yeah,
like that was
yeah.
that was a
That's a
feat on and
testament.
of itself.
That's a testament
But
for sure.
Spider-Man deserved that spotlight. I think we
Yeah,
were holding back to talk about it with each other so we can provide that fresh review to y'all. So I
yeah,
think I think well, yes, it did run a little longer. This one was very much a special scenario. I still
yeah,
think we'll be within that hour and a half to 2 hour timeline. Like
yeah.
this was only 2.5, it's two and a
We're
half
getting
hours.
close to
So
2:45, but yeah, yeah.
you know,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, Caleb, do you have anything you want to, plug? Anything you want to announce before we sign off?
all I'm saying is the next episode we're going to be diving into the Game Awards nominees.
Yep.
So this one will be it might be a little bit of a different format of a podcast. We don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
But
we'll
that might be
see.
our
Yeah.
only news that we talk about.
Yeah,
So,
it might be. We don't know what's going to happen in the next
right.
couple weeks. So,
And it's going to be a
yeah.
very heated conversation, I think. And I think that'll put us
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that'll be
not between us. We're
not
not.
between us.
We are
Right.
not going to be
I think
arguing
we're
with
very
each
much on
other.
the same page.
Yeah, I think we agree on most things.
Right.
I think we are going to be like actively raging at the Game Awards.
Yeah, because
Yeah. Next podcast is going to be absolutely insane.
So yeah, that's the one thing that I would look forward to. Keep an eye on eye out on what we decide with the Game Awards. It's coming closer, but unfortunately, with the Game Awards not giving us much information on what we want to do something, but we don't know if it's going to be
Yeah.
a recorded thing but we have to wait on the Game Awards to tell us
Yeah.
what we're going to do.
Because
So
there's the opportunity for us to maybe go see it in theaters, and that would
exactly.
be really fun. But
But it wouldn't be podcasted, but we would definitely. I think if anything, if we did it in theaters, I think we would find a way to possibly just record afterwards our thoughts. I don't know
yeah,
what we would do, but I'm just saying we haven't figured it out because they haven't figured what their plan is out
yeah,
yet. So,
yeah.
we're getting there. Like tickets went on sale last week for the live audience, and then this week, like this upcoming week, we're getting the nominees. So I think that's next up to be revealed. So
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully by next podcast we know more, and
Yeah.
I think we'll have a decision on what that would be.
Yeah.
So that's what I just wanted to plug.
I agree.
We're in that
Okay. Yeah.
season.
Yeah. I took a bit of a break from YouTube videos this past week. Not even week. These past few days, just because I went to a convention over the weekend, so I wasn't really able to do a lot of producing. But yeah, next week, we're gonna be back with a vengeance. I'm definitely. I mean, you want a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. I'm definitely sort of considering pivoting a little bit just based on the videos that have gotten the most views. And so, we'll be getting some more of that. But
Okay.
yeah, just keep an eye on my channel will be in the description. If you want to see a more generalized review of Spider-Man, I have one up on that channel. It's not very long, but it's you get a more full, broader picture. And I also have like a whole bunch of other videos about all sorts of stuff. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. I'm looking forward to the Game Awards. I think we've got a whole bunch of kind of end of the year events happening. Just go. I guess I should say I just finished the first Voice of Cards game, and it's not a very long game, but that was fun, and so I'll probably talk about that on the podcast at some point.
Okay.
And yeah, I think kind of my next thing is probably over the weekend I'm gonna play the Tales of Arise DLC that just came out, and also there's the Grand Blue Fantasy Versus beta. It's the fighting game that is out this weekend, so I'll probably be playing a little bit of that. Yeah, and if there's something that you think would make a good book club for us, please feel free to let us know. We can't guarantee, right? Like, especially if it's, something like Persona 5, right? Like that is a
it's a big
whole
undertaking.
commitment. I've played Persona 5, but Caleb hasn't.
Eventually.
or or you know, the entirety of uh the Final Fantasy series, or you know, something
Yeah.
like that. Like that, you know, keep it within reason.
Yeah.
But you know, we would love to have those suggestions. You know, if you have even, or you know, if you have something, like if there's a news topic you want us to cover and we didn't cover it, let us know, because you know, we have blind spots, and there's stuff that we're just not going to hear about. So uh, you know, please let us know in the description. um, yeah, and I think that's it for the show. So yeah, go. And I guess I would encourage the audience to say, you know, Near Replicant and Automata are
Hmm.
our book club. So for three, you know, for about a month, I would say go play those games if you're interested, and come
Hmm.
back and we'll have a whole episode dedicated to the Near franchise. Uh, except for Reincarnation, because that's a mobile game and I don't care about it. Um,
Yeah.
it's canon, but I don't even think it's like finished yet, so
Hmm.
it's not worth going into right now. Yeah, so with that, thanks so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day, and
Yeah.
uh, I'm sorry that I liked that. All right, and